Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel, and if you're returning, thank you so much for your continued support. I appreciate you more than I can tell you. I'm super excited about today's video. We are falling into winter. I've got one last fall project for you, and then we're going to shift gears and start into the winter holidays. Today's video is sponsored by Cricut, so big thanks to them. But let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. So starting out with a gift idea, this is a little wine bag with cheers on it. I used my Explore 3 by Cricut for this. And so as you can see, I'm in the app and all I did was search for wine bags because they have all of these pre-designed ideas that you can use. And so I just went in and I found one that was really simple because this is going to be the first time that I'm also using my Easy Press 2. So I wanted something basic without layers of colors. So if I can do this, anybody can do this. I got my wine bag out by Cricut, and then I went ahead and I selected some of the infusible ink. And this is a pack with a few different colors in it. I'm going to pick out the red color that's there. And it's all sealed up in the black plastic. I've heard that you want to be careful not to have lotion on your hands or anything like that because it could impact the ink. But you can see it's also got butcher paper in here. So they think of everything. And so I set aside a piece of the butcher paper. I set aside the color that I want to use. And I'm just being careful not to touch it too much because I've not used the infusible ink a lot. I'm not real familiar with how the oils on my hand might impact it. I'm just being careful. So applying it to my mat. And again, I'm just trying to be careful not to touch it too much. I'm probably being overly cautious, to be honest. I'm opening up my Explore 3. I am telling my app that I'm ready to make the design that I had selected. This was so simple. I'm dumbfounded by how simple it really is to use this. So it's telling me step by step everything I need to do. It reminded me that I needed to make sure it was mirrored because I was using the infusible ink. So when you're using the infusible ink and the iron transfers or heat transfers, it's important that you mirror your design because you place them upside down on your project. So they have to be mirrored so that they don't end up backwards when you're done. So hopefully that makes sense. But Cricut has thought of everything here. It tells me step by step what to do. The little lights flash at me when I'm supposed to push a button. So it's really been fantastic. Peeled my infusible ink off of my mat. I'm applying my little film that came on the mat to protect it again so that all the sticky stuff doesn't start collecting things like Sammy fur. So cutting out my design around there so that I can put the rest of that infusible ink away for another project later down the road. And I am just going to weed this out. Now, the neat thing about the infusible ink, it feels like a cardstock on a tacky surface. So you're actually peeling the cardstock off of the tack as opposed to with vinyl where the vinyl is sticky. This isn't sticky when you peel it off of there. So it's just a different material, right? So you don't even need a weeding tool really, but you saw how when I flipped it over, it was right. You could see the right wording, if you will. So, because that red part is going to go face down on the design. So hopefully it'll make more sense as you see me do this. But I went back to the app. I'm reading all the instructions. It's got links in there that go right to the Cricut website that tell you exactly what heat temperature you're supposed to use. It walks you through step by step. So I've got my Easy Press 2. I'm so excited to use this. Isn't she pretty? So I got it plugged in. I've got it preheated. So I'm setting it to 385 degrees, which is what the instructions called for. You can see it's already starting to heat up. This is sped up about 3 times. But then that little 30 that was there below, that's their the timer. So you can set it for the number of seconds required as well. So back to my instructions while that's heating up, and it is telling me I need to make sure that I use some cardstock on the inside. So I'm going to cut some of that down to put inside the little wine bag, and that'll keep the infusible ink from bleeding through to the other side of my wine bag. So we're protecting our project. And then it also is telling me it's really important to use a lint roller. So you need a clean sheet on your lint roller, roll that off really well, put down your butcher paper that came with your infusible ink, and we're going to press this for just about 15 seconds to prep it and get all the wrinkles out and make sure that it is ready to go. So I'm not sure why I was wiggling it. It does not say to do that. But then it has to be completely cool for the next step. So that was why I was waving at it, trying to get it to cool down faster. Once it's completely cool, you can go ahead and position your design, place your butcher paper, and now with medium force, and they even like describe to you like what medium pressure is. But I'm holding this on here. I had set my little timer for 60 seconds and then hit the little green button for it to go. Once that time was up, I took off the butcher paper. I'm checking my instructions again to make sure I know when I can remove the film, which is pretty much right away. And there it is. So exciting. And then once it's cool enough to handle, you can go ahead and pull out your cardstock and it's done. How sweet is that? I think that is so cute. I love it. So I am planning on including at least one gift idea in all of my videos leading up to the holidays. Let me know what you thought of this one. DIY number 2. This is my inspiration picture for the next DIY. I'm doing things backwards. We're going to do the fall project at the end. So we're kind of, yeah, I flipped things around, but I'm showing you all of the supplies we're going to be using here. So I have some pallet wood that I've had out in my garage. I had drilled some holes in the top of it. I eyeballed those holes, you guys, but then I set the boards together when I drilled them, so I made sure that they were exactly the same. They were about, if I had to guess, about a 1/2 inch in and a 1/2 inch down for the corner holes, and then that center hole was maybe about 2 inches lower than my corner holes. So just cleaning them all up with my Dollar Tree sand block, making sure that all of the rough edges are taken care of. I'm going to give it a good coat of paint with my silver lining chalk paint. Once that is all dry, I have these little drawer pulls I'd shown you before. I got these off of Amazon. They should be in my Amazon shop, and the link for that is in the description box. Went ahead and fastened those onto that center hole, and now I'm using some jute cord from Walmart to go ahead and fasten around the necks of my ball jars. I also got these from Walmart in a pack. I think it was like 12 to the pack, and I forget how much they were, but they were not all that expensive. I got them several months ago now, so I don't recall the exact price, but I am just tying that around the neck, cutting off a length that I can now tie back around. I had created a little bit of a slip knot on that first tie so that I could open up, like loosen the strand that was around the neck so that I could get my other piece in there to tie it off. I hope I'm making sense. It's late at night when I'm doing this, so I'm feeling a little brain dead. But I went ahead and I did the same thing to the other side, being mindful of the length so that I made sure that they were a matched set, right? I didn't want one hanging lower, noticeably lower than the other. So now I'm going ahead and I'm threading the jute cord through here. I was having a little bit of a hard time, especially since the paint inside the little holes there was still a little bit wet. So I'm using a skewer, and you'll be able to see better in a second what I did. But I basically started the jute cord through. So right here, I'm kind of twisting it and pushing it through, and then I'm using the skewer to help get it through the hole a little bit more, and then I'm pulling it through on the other side. So once I had it through, I was able to go ahead and knot it off. Once it was knotted, I pulled it tight to make sure that my knot wasn't going to go slipping back through the hole. And then I went ahead and trimmed my ends off. And then I did the same exact thing on the other sconce. So once I had that done, I went ahead and grabbed out my little fairy lights. I got these on Amazon recently. It was, I think it's a pack of 12, and I want to say, they were $15. I could be wrong on the price, forgive me. But I will have this in my Amazon store as well in case you want to check them out. I thought they were really cool. And so I just kind of unraveled them and then just let them tuck right inside of there just randomly. And then I'm tucking the little battery pack behind the little jar. And I'm going to go ahead in a second and grab my tape. This is my double-sided tape. If you have Velcro, I wish I had Velcro because that was what I wanted. I thought I had some in my stash, couldn't find it. So I'm using double-sided tape. But if you have Velcro, use Velcro because that will allow you to pull those off when you need to change the batteries without a lot of fuss. I'll probably be able to pull it off anyway. I'm just going to have a bigger mess to deal with. So highly recommend Velcro for this with the on-off switch facing up, so that you can turn them on and off easily. And our flower picks are going to hide that, so you will not see that when the project is finished. So I've got my Dollar Tree picks here. This is a rare occasion when I am not going to cut my picks apart. I'm actually going to tape them together. So I've got 4 of these picks, and I'm going to take 2 at a time. And I am going to use my florist tape, and I'm going to wrap and wrap and wrap and create a single pick with this. So when you use this tape, it's actually kind of funky because when you pull it, it stretches, and when it stretches, it gets sticky, and then it sticks to itself, but it also likes to stick to me. So I'm not a florist, you guys, and I've got another project at the end of this video that's going to prove that even more. But at any rate, once I had it all together, I went ahead and fluffed it out, and I'm pulling some of the pieces of the pick apart a little bit to help support it when I put it down in the ball jar, so it also doesn't fall down inside any further than I want it to. And then I did the exact same thing with the other pick. And there you have it. How sweet are these? And you can change out the flowers for every season. Let me know what you think. DIY number 3. So this was my inspiration picture, $69.95 at Kirkland's. We're going to use Dollar Tree supplies. I've got a couple of different types of Dollar Tree lights. I settled on the ones with the little stars on them that I got from last year. And I've got a couple of these little Christmas trees. I'm fluffing them out a little bit, but leaving them largely flat. And I am putting their little tree trunks together. I'm going to use some floral wire for this one. And I'm just going to wrap that wire around the trunks and wrap and wrap and wrap until I use up that whole length of the wire, and I've got it as secure as I can. So I'm just twisting that off, and I'm going to keep wrapping it around the tree. That's probably about an 18-inch length. Now I am coming in with some hot glue just to make it more secure. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my lights ready while that is cooling off. So popping my little batteries in, making sure that the lights work, and then screwing that little lid back on there. And now I'm going to start with the battery pack near the trunks in the middle, and I'm going to draw the lights up the back until the first light is up near the top, and then I'm going to thread it around and through from top to bottom. You might look at this and think side to side, but remember this is a railing swag, so there actually is a top and a bottom with the points. So making sure my lights are looking nice, and I'm using some of these little branches and the wire in them to my advantage to wrap around the lights and just secure them a little bit better where I want them. So I am not going to rip apart these picks, at least the berry picks. I'm going to leave them whole. So I'm just setting everything in place for right now to make sure that I'm happy with where it is before I commit. So I'm just getting those in place. And then I am cutting apart my little, I don't know what kind of flowers these are. I want to say they're like mini poinsettias, but I don't think that's what they are. So once I am happy with where everything is, I am going to wire off the middle of those picks again, come in with more hot glue, just make sure everything is nice and secure. And I'm going to use hot glue for all of my little flower picks to make sure that they are going to stay put. So now I've got my Kirkland ribbon. You guys have all heard me talk about my Kirkland ribbon if you've followed me for any length of time. I love it because you get so much of it for such a great price. And if you are interested in a bow tutorial, I do have a bow tutorial video that I will link in my description box for you as well. But for now, I am just creating a bow with 3 loops on either side. I'm going to squish it in the middle right there, use another length of ribbon, which I will tie around the middle. And when you do that, it always goes a little wonky at first, but just know that we're just going to fluff out those loops again, and it will be just fine. So I tied that off, and I'm going to go ahead and fluff up my ribbon and play with it until I get it the way I want it. My goal is to make it sufficiently large so it covers up that middle section and looks pretty. So I'm just setting it down now, checking to see how it looks. I'm going to flip my little tail the other way because it was looking kind of strange. So just play with it until you get it the way that you want it. And trust me, you can do this. So once I have the bow the way that I like it, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. And we're going to flip that battery pack out of the way for right now. We're not going to worry about that just a second. We'll come back to that in a moment. But that same piece that I wrapped around the middle of the bow to make that bow is what I used to tie it to the piece and then trim that off. So now for the battery pack, we want to make sure that the on-off switch is facing upward. And I'm going to create a little pouch for it on the back. And this is going to serve to hide the battery pack, hold the battery pack in place for function, and also be a way for us to get it out hopefully relatively easily when we need to change the batteries. So I'm just rolling this. I'm making sure it's a little bit wider at the top than it is at the bottom so that the bottom will grab it and not let it fall through. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to secure it to the back of my swag. So getting that all nice and secure. And then I'm going to go ahead and slide the battery pack in there in just a second once I'm confident that everything is glued down properly. So dropping the battery pack in there, and there you have it. I love this. I hope that you love it too. We're just going to fluff the ribbon up some more, trim off the ends. I'm just dovetailing them real quick. And that's it. I can't wait to make some more of these and have them hanging on my banister. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. So sweet, Christine. I love all these fall projects. Thank you so much for sharing. Awesome, Valerie. Some more great projects from Valerie. She's falling into winter too. Beautiful Rose, some more wonderful wood rounds, and nice Patty. Patty has been busy. Thank you so much for sharing. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 4. So this is some leftover scrap wood from some kitties that I made a couple of weeks ago. If you didn't see that video, I will leave a link in my description box. I'm showing you the paint colors I've used here. It was plaster, oatmeal, and crimson. Painted my little houses. Now I'm going to do the roofs black. Once I have that all done and they're nice and dry, I'm grabbing my Arteza paint marker. This is also in black. Now look how cute those are just like that. Part of me wishes I'd kind of just left them and maybe decorated them with greenery. Yeah, I kind of had a vision in my head and it went a little awry somewhere, but I decided I was coming in and I was going to just create some detail on all of these houses. You'll have to let me know what you would have done with these. Would you have come in and done what I'm doing here? Because for me, the jury is kind of out on this. I'm not sure. Not sure that this is my best work, but let me know what you think. So I'm going to keep skipping through some of these steps here so you can see what I did, but not have to sit through watching everything that I'm doing. So I'm putting some lights in the windows for all these little houses. I wanted them each to have their own little character. So this little guy is getting a wreath on the door. I've got some garland going in here. So these are all my Arteza paint markers that I'm using and just layering on the color as I go. So I'm coming in with some little red berries on the garland. And then, yeah, little hanging wreaths in the windows with little red bows on them. It's a little bit hard to see here, the detail, because as I try to zoom in with my camera, for whatever reason, it gets a little bit blurry, so I apologize for that. But adding some little Christmas lights to this house, little white lights all around the windows and the roof line. But what would you have done with these? I really do want to know. So once I had all of those little details done, I came in with my glue gun and I am giving a generous dollop of glue on the top, and I'm using my artificial snow on the hot glue. And I'm going to do that at the point, the peak of each roof, and then I'm doing it along the edges of the roof where we tend to sometimes see the snow gather as it slides down off the roof. So I'm doing that for all three of the houses. I do have them set on parchment paper to catch all of the extra snow so I can put it back in my little bag. And I'm just shaking all of the extra, once the hot glue is dry, shaking that off of the tops of my little houses. And then I just went ahead and put that back in the bag. So now I'm coming in on the front side of the houses, and again, I am giving it a little bit of snow. I'm being generous with the amount of the hot glue as well as with the snow. And that's pretty much it. So I guess they're kind of cute and sweet. But let me know what you think. Here I'm just showing you how I was able to fold up the parchment paper and slide that snow right back into my bag for future use. And that's it. And here they are. DIY number 5. So this is from my friends at WiseDry. It's silica gel crystals. They had reached out and asked if they could send this to me to try out. They've got the satisfaction guarantee on the back. I'm going to have this in my Amazon store in case you want to check it out, because I thought this was really neat. So it comes all sealed up, and these crystals are reusable, so you can use them over and over again. But they've got a little instruction booklet here. You actually can use it in the microwave also. I did test it in the microwave, but I wanted to try it both the microwave way and the long way, I'll call it. So you need to have a Tupperware container or airtight container for this, and you put some of the silica gel down in the bottom, and then you'll start with your flowers. Now, these are flowers that I picked up from the grocery store. I'm just getting them prepped. I'm opening up the little rows. They did say that you should cut off the stems because it's easier to dry them, imagine. They said that you can do some with their stems on. I'm testing it different ways. I've never worked with this kind of a product before, so this is completely new to me. So I'm following the instructions. The microwave version did work on the pieces that I tried with that. You basically have to put it in the microwave for a couple of minutes. I think it was like a minute, but then you have to let it cool completely before you remove it from the silica gel. And it was amazing. It was completely dried. It had maintained its color. It was really the coolest thing. So, but I wanted to test out the long method as well. So I am prepping all my flowers, and it said, I believe you have to leave them in the gel for 2 to 7 days. So if you're not in a hurry, this might be the way you want to go. Now, different flowers require different drying times. So I guess depending on how much moisture they have in them, that would determine the length of time that they would need to dry out, which makes a lot of sense, right? But it seems to be more of an art than a science. So trying to figure out which flowers need what length of time, it's kind of trial and error is what I gathered. So I am just getting all of my flowers covered with the silica gel, and I am gonna see how it all works. So making sure that all of the little crevices are covered. I probably shouldn't be layering them, but I had a lot of flowers that I wanted to dry, and I didn't have a lot of large Tupperware containers, so I'm kind of doing them in layers here. But that beautiful rose, wait till you see how it comes out. Now, I went to seal it up, and I realized that my lid had a problem. So it wasn't airtight. So I was like, uh-oh, and I didn't realize it before. So I did transfer them into this other container. This is a week later. I am now pulling them out. And look at how beautiful. Now, these are also moisture activated crystals. You can see there's a little bit of green over there. Probably means that my flower wasn't entirely completely dry, because some of those crystals came out of the middle of that rose and they were green, right? So I might have needed to put it back in a little bit longer, but everything else was perfectly dry. So I went ahead and poured my WiseDry back into the bag, sealed that up for future use, because again, you can use it over and over again. If you're going to store the flowers, they do recommend that you put a little bit of the silica gel down in the bottom of your Tupperware container and then seal it up. And that just helps to maintain the dryness factor, I guess. So I'm taking everything out and getting my flowers ready to try to put together. So I was trying, you guys, to put my stems back on. I was trying to use the floral tape. It wasn't working for me. So I'm using hot glue. This is probably not the way that you should be doing this. And I am sure that there are florists out there watching me right now thinking, oh my goodness, what is that girl doing? But hot glue, I knocked some of the petals off, worked for that too. So you know what? I'm like, find a way or make a way. I just dipped it in the hot glue and tucked it right in there. And it was all right back together again. You would never know. So, and I mean it, you would never know. It was like half of the petals on that one flower fell off, and look at it now. It looks beautiful. So I was starting to try and see what it would look like together and decided I needed a vase. I grabbed a Dollar Tree vase off my shelf because I have like a total inventory of these, but using my pumpkin chalk paint, and I'm just giving it one good coat of chalk paint, and I'm using the same direction with my brush stroke all the way around it, thinking it would give it a little bit of a pottery kind of look, and I only gave it the one coat. And you know what? I love the effect that I ended up with. So once that was dry, I went ahead and started trying to put my bouquet back together. Like I said, I am not a florist. I struggled here. You know, I did end up putting a piece of pool noodle down in the bottom because they weren't setting up high enough for me. So they needed a little bit of extra support in the bottom of that vase. Yeah, Perhaps if I'd used floral foam, I would have had a little bit more luck with this. I don't know. If you're great at arranging flowers, leave me a comment and give me a couple of hints or tips or something. From this angle, it's actually not looking all that bad, and I probably should have just left well enough alone, but I kept messing with it. And I was convinced I was going to get it to look better than what I had. And in the end, I probably should have just left it alone right at this point. But I did keep playing with it, and eventually I got it to a point where I was like, you know what? That's about as good as I'm going to get it. And that point was right about here. So it's done. Let me know what you think. And thanks again to my friends at WiseDry. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the project. So please give me a big thumbs up and leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite was. Until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.